Hey everybody, MegaRuler31 here for FSIDFS. TK Nation could not join me for this breakdown. Just a reminder that it's daylight savings time, so make sure that you set your clocks an hour ahead so you don't miss the race tomorrow. But it's later on in the day, so hopefully that won't be a factor for you. So we will be breaking down the Cup race. Xfinity race was a little rough because one of the best plays was Anthony Alfredo. He was starting last. He's a decent driver in a decent car. Had some mechanical things. They look like, hey, we're good to go. And they weren't good to go. Ended up 50 laps down. And then I also had Riley Herbst, who I thought had a really fast car, lost his brakes, went into the wall. So pretty much end of the day, lost about half the money. But you know what? That's why we have bankroll management, and hopefully you're being responsible and not going all in on any of these races. So if you do have some bad luck, you can live to fight another day. But definitely way ahead for the season and looking forward to this Cup race. So it is the RUOFF Mortgage 500. It is 500 kilometers because you're thinking, wow, it's a half mile track or it's a mile track. So it must mean 500 laps. That's great for dominating points. But it's actually 500 kilometers, which is 312 laps, which isn't bad. So this is nice too, because with Xfinity, we didn't have the qualifying and the starting order. So we had to pretty much guess. And the nice thing was our model was pretty close to the four guys down. Three of the four guys in the bottom of my model did not qualify like we thought. And a lot of the people did qualify where, besides like Justin Allgaier, really close to where we thought they would. So that was very helpful. So, but this one, we do have the qualifying and we do have the practice status. So if we want to pause the video up on the top of the screen here, the AR column is the practice data. The qualifying one is the qualifying data for speed there. So basically what this model takes into consideration is how did they do in the last two Phoenix races? How have they done in the last 10 tracks? Similar to this with Phoenix mixed in, what is their 2022 season average finish? And then what was their practice and qualifying time? And then it looks at track history also, like DNF rate. So we have our drivers here, and I think we're going to start at the top. And pretty much any of these four drivers you could make a case to get out early and dominate. And it seems like whoever gets out early, unless like you have like a really fast car like Noah Gragson, who was able to chase down leaders today. But it did take a little bit of time. You did see Trevor Bayne get out there. You did see Brandon Jones get out there. And it took, maybe 10 to 15 laps for Gragson to actually catch them and pass them, especially if there's anybody kind of racing them for like second and third. So there's a good chance that Blaney gets out there, or Hamlin, whoever gets the best jump off the line, and leads quite a few laps, maybe even until if there's a competition caution to check tire wear, if there's a caution because they're still getting used to these cars and you still see some spin outs here and there, or if it's just to the end of stage one. So good chance that any of these top four get out there and dominate. So I'm not listing any of them as prime. I think they're all good plays, and I think it might be a rotational thing where you figure out which one you feel most confident in, you play in your cash, and then go in like a 20 max, take the rest of your core guys, plug in one of these top guys, one of these middle guys I'm going to talk about later on for like some place differential, and then see how much you have left and see who fits in to make a balance line for yourself. So Blaney, he came out here and did some testing in this car. He was one of the second fastest cars in practice. So even though he's started off the season a little bit rough and his average on finish is 15.7, I think there's a lot of good going for him. His price is nice. It's under 10K. So I think you definitely feel confident as Dominator. I think he's going to be very, very chalky and very, very popular there. Denny Hamlin, he's had a rough start to start the season. The Gibbs cars looked a lot better last week, finally at Vegas, but as it's usually said with Gibbs is they really focus in on tracks that are part of the championship in the postseason tracks. So Fontana is not on there, and Daytona is such a wild card. You don't want to put much in there. So, but they did go look at Las Vegas, and they did test at Phoenix. So hopefully that kind of will right the ship there. Practice was okay, wasn't super fast, but ended up qualifying second here. So hopefully got things figured out for him to go out there and lead some laps here. He's just looked really good in the last races at Phoenix, so it definitely potential to dominate here. William Byron, he's always has a fast car. He might be the most GPP out of this one, but it wouldn't surprise me if for some reason he got out there and was able to lead laps. He did not come out when they did the testing for the new next gen car here, like some of the other Hendrick's cars did, but that doesn't really mean much because they probably shared notes and stuff, and as a team they do a good job working. And he's got a really good crew chief also, who was really good at paying attention to things and setting up cars. So I think he definitely has the potential here to go. I think Hamlin and Blaney are a little bit more solid. And then you have Christopher Bell, who's actually been really, really fast, dominated this racetrack when he ran here back in Xfinity days. He was a little bit slower. He had better time than Hamlin in practice, but I think he definitely, with the 8,300, I think maybe he'd be one. It's probably more of a GPP play, but I think in cash, maybe if you pair him with Blaney, I think definitely he could potentially dominate and lead some laps there today. Eric Almirola, I think he's a GPP play. I like the price here, but it's just I think he's starting a little bit too far forward. But he did win New Hampshire, which is a very similar flat, shorter track, and he has been very consistent this year. I think he's the only driver they said that's finished inside the top 15 every single race this season. So he's got that going for him. I believe it's his final year too. So and Stuart Haas they seem like they've made some strides from last year. I don't know if they're completely there yet, but I think he's a decent GPP play maybe to mix in there. Chase Briscoe, he had a fast car in practice also. Again, I like the price here. I think he's starting a little bit far forward. I think he's going to have pretty low ownership. I don't really think he's going to break like 4x there. I have him only at like about 22 DK points. So I think I've seen some good things from him with speed and stuff. I don't know if one of these cars, it's either Tyler Reddick. I can't remember in practice, they cracked a brake, which was lucky that they found, or no, actually he came back to the garage. They had another issue with the car. They believe it was Reddick that cracked the brake, and they supposedly had it fixed, but still, I think he's starting a little too far forward there. Kyle Larson comes in at 7, and Kyle Larson, he's the most expensive guy, and for good reason. I just have him as a GPP here. I think he's still going to be popular, and I don't mind if you put him in a dominator group and mix and match and like in 20 max. I don't know if you want to play him in your main cash line though, just simply because that price, he's got to get up front and he's got to lead laps. And he didn't have the best car last time at Phoenix. Like he did end up winning the race, but his pit crew got him out there towards the end of the race and made up a couple spots on pit road. He had the first stall, I believe, and he had like an amazing stop and just got out there and was able to pull away and win it. He's never a bad play. He won 2 weeks ago. He was right there knocking on the door last week, and I think he's definitely going to be in contention here. I just don't know if he's going to be able to lead enough laps to pay off his price. I do have him, probably as the second highest raw DK points. So, that's something to consider also. And there's a little bit of place differential, but I think he's more of a GPP play. Austin Cindric, I think he was really fast. I think he was the fastest in practice here. He did really well here. He was right. He up. It was the Xfinity race at the end of the season last year. He was right there, and Hemrick just got a really good restart with him, and he just made a slight error going into one of the corners, and Hemrick was able to get up on the side of him and just win the title by a nose. But I think, Cindric, he's been really good here. I know if you look at the trap type, it says like 28, but I think there's got to be some bad data in there. I don't really believe in that. But his average running position was 1.7 last year in the final. I don't know why it's saying 0 for the spring race, but he did really well there also. And he's almost averaging a top 10 finish for the 22 seasons. So I know he's starting a little bit far up and it is a little bit risky, but 7,700, if you can fit him in your cash lineup. I couldn't fit him in my main cash build. Also, maybe if some news breaks tomorrow, I'll rework some things and get him in, but I really do like him. I might split my cash and play with a couple different dominators up top, go 50% on one, 50% on the other in cash, and see if I can get Cindric in the line. Alex Bowman, he won the race. Now he's in a battle of words with Kyle Busch, who says that he backs into wins. He's not really a good driver. But this guy could take a car that belongs somewhere from the top 10 to the top 5, and he's able to hang around and keep it clean and win races. And I think he's been the most winningest driver in the last couple of years with the amount of wins that he's brought in. So we always said, like, he's a very vanilla driver. It's like not someone we ever expect to go out and ever dominate a race, but it never surprises you if he finishes top 5 or actually, comes up with a win. I do believe this is his home track also, so that might help. So it should be a good track for him. He was really good in this, the package that they ran here on these tracks last year. So I don't see why he can't put it together and have a solid day also there. Joey Logano. Joey Logano has led a lot of laps at Phoenix, and his average running position was 2.5 in the spring race. Was not as good in the fall race, but overall the season, he's had some, I know he's destroyed a couple of cars, and I know he's spun at the end of qualifying in the second round of it, and that's why he qualified 10th. He made it to the playoff group there, but then a spun and kind of has like a Darlington stripe on the back of his car, but only looks like a flesh wound. I think the car is perfectly fine. So definitely he's one that you can look at here to get some possible place differential and maybe get up there and lead some laps. So, like I said, looking for a dominator, you want to take somebody like 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, and then he's one of the guys to start pairing with for your second one. Go with the value guys that we have, maybe in like the 7K range, and then, see who else fits to finish off your lineup. Kyle Busch, I think he's always a GPP play. He's very expensive here. Second highest price guy on the slate. So I don't know if I'm going to consider playing him tomorrow. It seems like he's in better form this year. I think the practice is definitely helping him out. The other thing about Kyle Busch is he did do pretty well on the flat track in this car in the Clash at the Coliseum. And I know he did participate in the testing days here back in January. So maybe that's going to help him out a little bit. But I think, again, GPP, the pricing is a little bit too high for me. Tyler Reddick, I really like him here. He was fast. If you look at it, he's definitely in the green there. Let me see if I can sort it really quick here. So, we're looking at practice. Tyler Reddick was third fastest. It went Cindric, Blaney, Reddick, Byron, Larson, Briscoe, Logano, Elliott, Chastain, Allmendinger. So that's definitely something to look at. He's run well here. And they did put that resin down. It's not the PJ1 or whatever they put for traction on other tracks. This one actually eats away at the tires a little bit to provide a little bit more grip for them. So it does provide like a second line up higher, where it hasn't really been as much in the past. When we get down to Kevin Harvick, he used to love to run on this track, I think more on like the lower groove. And now that they put like the resin there, you know, it really opens up for people to run other places. And I think that, yeah, we'll finish that thought when we get back to him. But back to Tyler Reddick at 8,500 is not a bad price. Season, he's only been finishing around 20th, so that's a little bit risky there. But and 85 might be like in no man's land for like pricing. But I think if for some reason, if you can fit him in your lineup, if you're looking to drop down someplace and play more balance, I think he's definitely a good play. Austin Dillon, he's definitely also in no man's land. He's running well this year, 12th average finish, but just don't really see super great things for him at this track. He's got 2 top 10s in 16 races here, but just his average finish is 20th. So nothing special there. Eric Jones, he qualified too high here. These Petty Childress cars have just been much better this year than they were last year. And Jones has almost 6, 7, 8x his value most races with the points he scored. He's had like tremendous success this year, and last week at Vegas he was doing well also, and got taken out of the race late in the race, which really wasn't even his fault. So again, I only have him at like 21 points here, not even at like 3x. Again, he started like, I wish he like was, if he called 24th, like I would be so enticed to play him. But 7,400 starting where he is, I think he's a GPP play. Kurt Busch, I have him as a fade. He's been okay this year. I just really haven't seen a ton out of this 23XI Racing as much as I thought they would. Go into a 2-car team, and they're affiliated with the Gibbs car, and the Gibbs cars did test here. So, I mean, maybe that helps him out a little bit, but I think he struggles to get to like 4x here. And 8,900, he just seems like he's so high priced. I don't know. Maybe in a GPP, but he's a fade for me. Okay, now back to Kevin Harvick, 9,100. He's had such a long career that, you know, he's dominated many places through many time periods, and he was really good at Phoenix, but that's when they had the one group. He's actually has 9 wins here, which is like 18 top 5s. His average finish is 8th. So can he put it together in this new car, recapture the magic and have a good day? Definitely. We've seen some better things with him this season. His average finish is about 13th. He's starting 16th. So I think definitely in a GPP, he definitely has a little bit of higher ceiling than, I believe, like Kurt Busch or some other drivers that you might find in this price range, especially with the place differential. But again, like I still want to see a little bit more consistency before I jump on board with him. Ross Chastain, 8,100. This is a decent price for him. He has been really fast here, also has had some success at this track and, you know, Xfinity, but in Cup here he's had like 7 races here, and his average finish is 23rd. So I just think he's a cash play, maybe based on the speed, but again, he kind of falls in this no man's land of 8,100. I don't think unless you're building really balanced, kind of like with Tyler Reddick, it might be hard to like land on him or get him into a line. I would definitely rather pay down for Austin Cindric at 77. But if you have like the extra $400 and looking for a little bit more place differential, then I think you want to differentiate lineups a little bit, because you think like Cindric might be a little bit more popular. That definitely can work for you. Okay, so next we have Brad Keselowski. He seems to be on the wrong side. Just seems to be declining. Roush Fenway Ford 8,200. The price is decent for him. So could he get up there and be a factor? I don't think he's going to lead, but starting 18th, could he get 10 places and finish 8th? Yeah, I definitely think that could happen. It just seems like he's really wrecked a lot of people, and I don't know if it's just he's being overly aggressive or his equipment's not as good as it was when he was with Penske, or if he's having trouble trying to control this new car that's harder to drive. It could be D all of the above. I don't know, but out on Keselowski. Okay, now we come to another prime play here. Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott, I know he has not won anything on an oval in a long time, probably since he won the race back in 2020 in Phoenix to win the title. I think that might have been his last victory on an oval. Everything else he's won has been like road courses and other things. So, but I do think there's some place differential here. I think that he did come out here and test and did look good. His practice speed wasn't bad either. So I think that he's a car that probably has some good long run speed. And if it can stay green for a while, I think that you definitely pick off some cars and make it up there, and definitely starting 19th, make it up into the top 10. So I know 10.7 is a little bit steep of a price, but I think really with how fast the Hendricks cars have been, I think he's a really good play. If you don't like him, then I think the next prime play would be Martin Truex Jr. Martin Truex Jr. dominated this race in back in the spring and won it. And then he was doing really, really well. His average running position was 3.7, and he had the best long run car there. But the problem is there's a bunch of cautions towards the end, and it was a short run to the title. So, definitely didn't work out for him. But these Gibbs cars, again, showed a lot of promise at Vegas. He had a good run last week. So I think that definitely between he or Elliott, I'm leaning on Elliott. Don't tell my daughter. Truex is her favorite driver, as you know. But I think Martin Truex, if you want to save about $900, could also be a prime play here in your cash core. So I'd play either Chase Elliott or Truex or Logano. So basically in your builds, what you need to do for your core plays is figure out who you want as your dominator top, like Blaney, Hamlin, Byron, or Bell. Blaney or Hamlin would probably be the cashiest options. And then Logano, Elliott, Truex. I think Elliott would be my pick. Truex would probably be second, and Logano, just based on how many laps he's led, he doesn't have as much place differential starting 10th. And if something goes wrong, he can lose you more points. So with those three, Ty Dillon, I kind of like him here. He's in another petty car, 5,900. His average finish for the season is 16th. He's starting 21st. So if he finishes where he averages, that's 6 place differential points. He's a veteran driver. His average finish here is 18.9, so that's 19th. So that still moves him up at least 2 spots for 5,900. You're going to need some value if you want to play some 2 like 10K guys here, if you don't want to go dumpster diving. And I think he's a great option for that. Michael McDowell is not his type of track style. He's average finish here in 22 races is 31st. He's got 31.82 DNF rate. And his season, other than Daytona, hasn't been going great so far. So I'm playing him in GPP if you need the price, but kind of odd on him. Daniel Suarez, this Trackhouse team has really shown some speed this year. So I really think that he's one to keep my eye on. I have him at almost a 5x value, which is probably the 4th highest on the board here. So definitely a cash play. I didn't mark him as a prime play because I think there's a couple other guys that I like a little bit more expensive. But if you can't quite get to them, then definitely he would be in the prime consideration. Just I think, starting 23rd, his average, I think he can get at least 5. He can get into the top 20, maybe even higher. He's not going to lead laps, or maybe if a crazy thing, if he's like stays out for a caution or something, or like green flag, like long run, if some of the leaders pit and stays out a little bit to try to pick up some points there. But other than that, I think he's having a good season, and he called the race today. So I think, he's going to see the Xfinity and the track, and that kind of sometimes helps the drivers also. Harrison Burton, I think, is going to be very, very popular here also. Was top 10 in speed in practice, didn't qualify great. His season hasn't been off to a great start either. 25th overall finish, but he's starting 24th. So really, if he finishes where he starts, you really don't lose much there. But if you look at his Xfinity history here, it hasn't really been that bad. In 4 races, he's had 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s. His average finish is 5.8. His average running position in the final race was 8.9. So I think that was definitely somebody at 5,700 that you can consider. And I think that he's going to be pretty high owned for his price tag, his place differential, and his history in Xfinity. Cole Custer, same thing, a little bit more expensive. Definitely like Harrison Burton better. Definitely like Daniel Suarez better. But the Stewart-Haas cars have been okay. But I think he could potentially get 8 to 10 place differential points. His practice time, qualifying time were okay. But I think that he had some success here in Xfinity also. So it's someone to look at too. Chris Buescher, same thing. He's a little bit more expensive. I think I'd rather have like Suarez based on what I've seen. The car, but if you want somebody lower owned, if you're trying to avoid like a chalk disaster, I think Buescher is definitely okay. Average finish this year has been 16, so that means he's probably has the potential of moving up 10 places. I don't think he's had too many mechanical issues. He's had some got wrecked, I think, a couple times, but other than that, I think he's a cash play you can have. Bubba Wallace is going to be so highly owned. I don't understand it. Like, I've looked through a bunch of articles and a bunch of other sites and what their thoughts are on Bubba Wallace, and it seems like a lot of people are very high on him. He had a disastrous final in Phoenix before. His average running position spring was 15th. He's finished in around 19th this year. His track type average is about 20. So I get it. So that's about like maybe 7 place differential points moving forward. But if I look at his Phoenix numbers in Cup, just make sure I'm reading the right line here. So 8 races, he has 1 top 10, average finish is 21st. So, I mean, it's not bad, but I think I would rather play like Harrison Burton. I think I'd rather play Cole Custer, who has in 4 races, like finished like 20th, a little bit better, around the same price range. So it's your decision. I like Bubba and TK says I'm the Bubba whisper, and just not feeling Bubba this week. Justin Haley, I think he's decent. These Cully cars are okay. I think he's going to be highly owned just for his price point, and just really hasn't got off to a great start for the season. But I think that he is someone that you could potentially consider in cash here. Like a little bit better than Bubba, but I'd prefer some of the guys like Harrison Burton or Cole Custer over him, or Ty Dillon for like $100 less. But if you want more place differential, then I guess he's the guy you want. Okay, so now I have AJ Allmendinger as a prime player here, and I know AJ Allmendinger, he had an okay Xfinity race, but he starting at 29th, this Cully car, it seems like they're putting more resources into the Cup than they are Xfinity. And the numbers here are his Xfinity numbers, but in Phoenix, he was 7.8. His season average in Xfinity is 9.5. I know, different competition, different car, whole bunch of different things, but there's a lot of things that make me really like AJ Allmendinger here. Being a veteran, he did race in the Clash, and he did quite well in this car on a shorter track, so I like that also. And I think, he's got a ton of place differential. I think he can get up into the top 15 just with his experience. He already raced today, or so he's had some laps on this Phoenix track. Again, it's a different car, I get it, but I think it definitely helps. So I really like him. Again, 72. If you say, okay, that's too much, and I think that's why people might be gravitating towards Bubba. You're saving $800 there. I get it. And if you can't fit him in your line, that's fine. But I think he's going to be one of my cash core plays that I'm going to, just for the place differential. And I think that, he's going to do some really good things in this race. Corey LaJoie, Landon Cassell, both Spire cars. Kind of scares me that there's two Spire cars in here. Cassell ran the Xfinity race also. LaJoie usually seems to get a decent amount out of his car. If you look at both of them, their season average this year, 23rd, 19th. These guys are probably going to pretty much finish where they start. If there's like a wreck or other people have issues, it can move them up through attrition. They're cheap cars. They might break down themselves, but probably about the four guys behind them probably aren't going to overtake them. So I think they're GPPs. Cody Ware, I'm not interested in. Todd Gillian, the only reason I'm interested in him is this car out of all the ones down here with the Live Fast and the Rick Ware cars. It's a good quality car, and he did well here in the Truck Series. So I think that he's one to consider potentially as a GPP play if you're looking for a punt. He is the cheapest guy that I think I would go for. BJ McLeod and Smithley, I'm not interested in. And then we have Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who had a mechanical issue and couldn't qualify, or I think he broke his drive shaft, maybe it was. So he couldn't qualify. So he's going to be massive chalk and definitely a prime play. Sorry, I still have the old name on them. I got to change it on my main form, but he is part of Trackhouse here. They have had, with he and Suarez, they've had some tremendous speed. Definitely no place to go but up here. I think he's going to 6x his salary. I think he's a great play at 7K. So I think you need to lock him in. So again, I think you need to start with Stenhouse. I really like Allmendinger. If you can't afford it, I get it. Cindric is another option there. Possible he's even more expensive, but if you can't, then look for somebody in between Dillon or Harrison Burton or Cole Custer as a value play. Then you want to take either one of those mid-range guys, either Elliott, Truex, or Logano, and then up top you want to take Blaney, Hamilton, Byron, Bell. Figure out who fits your salary for your fifth guy. If you have to drop all the way down, Todd Gillian's as far as I'd go. But hopefully you land back in that 6K range so you can get on another one of those drivers and be okay. And hopefully it all goes together and things go well for you. So thanks for watching. We appreciate it. You can catch me on Twitter at MegaRuler31, TKNation47, if you want to reach out to him. So drop some comments below, ask us some questions. We'll try the best we can do to help you. And looking forward to this race, and looking forward to next week where we go out to Atlanta with the new paving. That track is supposed to be super, super fast, and it should be very interesting to see how that plays out. It might be more like Daytona or Talladega, but we'll have to see. So thanks again for watching. Again, drop some comments below, like this, share with some friends. Appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time.